Well, yes, bro, but the question we have to ask ourselves is why, right? And if we all recognize it, right, why isn't there a viable solution, or at least a resolution being put in place in order to prevent it from happening? And my argument is this, is that because we are approaching it from a social and or religious perspective while totally negating the biological aspects of our divide, we are not coming up with an evolutionarily suitable response to what we have going on. Inside of all species, there is a hierarchy of needs, right? Basic necessities have to be met before other necessities or needs or wants or desires, right, can become a priority in terms of what it is we aspire to have for ourselves. Understanding what the hierarchy of needs is, it has a foundation and then it eventually rises to an apex or a point or a pyramid, right? The foundation of the basic necessities or the hierarchy of needs are food, water, shelter, rest, or health, right? The secondary level of this hierarchy needs is safety and basic security. The third level of this is interpersonal relationships, right? Childbearing, love, relationships, that type of shit, right? The things that we desire and the things that we want, but not necessarily the things that we need as a species, right? To exist, but not to necessarily continue to exist, right? Self-preservation is always number one, right? In terms of laws of nature, and it is innate to us all as primal species. Make no mistake about it that religious and social dogma, right, has basically removed us from seeing ourselves as animals or as species, as all other species on this planet, right? But we absolutely are. And in being that, right, we are genetically encoded and have an imprint that says that certain needs have to be met, right, before I can move on to the secondary needs, wants, and desires. So again, we need health, food, water, shelter, right? After that, we need security. If us as black men have failed to provide the institutes and industries that would advance us into a position of ownership and of any of these basic necessities of life, in response to that, what you would see is a subconscious female detachment from us, because we have not proven ourselves to be the best genetic example, right, to outpace predation, and now they are left in a situation, right, of having to self-preserve, right? Now, while most people will again buck this thing and say, okay, well, they have the choice to do this, I'm telling you that it is not a choice. It is a subconscious genetic response, right, to not being provided the things that you need in order to nurture or incubate future legacies, right? So now we see women moving away from wanting to be wives or even mothers, right? They're really fully independent in mindset, saying that I'm just going to secure these resources for myself and make sure I'm good. And now they're battling for the upper 1% echelon of men, right, who have always acquired these, who have acquired the resources to provide basic needs. The thing is this, is that the mitochondrial, right, DNA of women, right, is unevolving, right? They were basically produced perfect for what it is as a species that they were supposed to do, produce legacy, right? We are the evolving aspect of species, as all male species are. And the example that I'll give you is this, that most people aren't aware of. When most people see the mating seasons of bird, what you always realize is that the male bird is always the most colorful, right? Always the loudest. And that isn't just to attract the female, right? It is in fact to attract predators, right? And if that male is able to outpace, outrun, outjump, right, and survive himself past the predatory acts of anything looking to decimate him, what he proves to the female is that I am the genetic example that you should be copulating with in order to move a more perfect or a more evolved example of ourselves into the future. Because listen, I'm better than these predators right here, so I'm absolutely who it is that you want to mate with. This is what happens on the subconscious level of females, right? When we are incapable of providing the basic necessities needed in order to sustain life, they will reject us, right? And they will start moving on their own. And because we see their response to us, it forces us, right, to start moving into a point of one, either evolving ourselves or falling into the position of natural selection, which means that we are now extracting our genome from the potential of having a legacy, which is what the passport boys are. They do not want to deal with the problems at hand. So as opposed to solving and coming up with a viable solution to solve the issues we have between ourselves, they have completely and now are choosing to extract themselves from the genetic gene pool, right? They chose flight instead of fight. The thing with this, right, is that the ones of us, or those of us that have stayed, we will have to start looking at it from a different perspective than the ones that we are arguing, and that perspective is biological. What is it that I am supposed to provide, and how do I get these things right in order to create a nurturing environment in order for us to sustain life together as black men and black women, right? And again, it's like, it is hard for me to articulate this because it is a lot that has to be fit inside of a short time span. But my argument is always this, right? That if black men have an issue with what's going on with black women in terms of their unwillingness to quote unquote submit, have children, be traditional wives, right? Then we ourselves have to build the institutes, right, that nurture those type of characteristics inside of our women. And as long as we fail to do that, right, we are being essentially forced by evolution, right, in the world to evolve ourselves, and our women are the ones that will always apply that pressure to us, as with every other species, right? This is why we see, again, I'll go back to birds, right? Because women, females across all species are resource based. In our society, what resources mean is money, because money is the tool used to acquire the resources needed to sustain life. When we start looking at birds or any other animals, right, the reason that these birds we see flying out, picking up small trinkets and flying them back to the nest, it's because it is proof of my capabilities and my desire to create a nurturing environment in order for you to produce a legacy for me that will evolve us and allow us to exist inside of the future, right? And that is the greatest problem that we have right now, is that we are being faced with two different aspects of the very same thing. One is from a social perspective and one is from a biological perspective, right? We have to evolve and we have to put ourselves in a better position, right? The roadblock that we are running into is the morality of man imprinted in our genetic or in our psychology based on the religion, right? You don't do this because it's immoral. You don't do that because it's immoral. The combatant to that is that on a biological level, all morale goes out the window, regardless of what I believe spiritually, religiously, or socio-economically or political, right? All that shit takes a backseat to the primal innate nature of me as man and animal on this planet, right? And that's what we as men are being charged to do by our female, is to evolve ourselves into positions of power, right? The further we descend down this ladder of human existence and become the subordinates of other people, the further we will move away from our women. And that is the issue that we are having today. We are unwilling to do exactly what others have done to place us in a position to commandeer the positions that they are now in and prove ourselves to be worthy genetic counterparts in order to sustain our legacy in the future. It's a lot to understand, and I tried to force it all in, but that's basically what it is. And if you don't understand what I'm saying now, what I would employ people to do is just Google the hierarchy of human needs, right? And that will give you pretty much all the information that you are not getting from me if you are able to look at it right constructively and analytically and apply that to ourselves.